How to muck up the World Cup Part 72 from FIFA. Here's what's going to happen in 2030. There will be 6 countries in total that will host it. 3 of them for the opening matches of their campaign. Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay. Why on earth would they do this? Well, it's to celebrate 100 years of the World Cup. So after those 3 games involving those teams have played, the World Cup then moves to Spain, Portugal and Morocco. They have the opening ceremony there as well, by the way, and the rest of it will be held there. And all 6 of these teams will qualify for the tournament. Nedum's still with us. Gab, you're a man who comes in and say, no, it's great, 48 teams is great. You can't seriously think this is a good idea.
I think this is an idea where ultimately it comes from politics. Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay were all interested in bidding for the 2030 World Cup. Now, obviously, you can't have Spain and Morocco and Portugal were the rival bid. How do we make them both happy? Well, you say, hey, you guys get the opening games, and we'll celebrate 100 years of the World Cup, dating back to 1930 in Uruguay. And you guys, Spain, Morocco, and Portugal, will host the tournament proper. It's a bit disingenuous to say, well, there's 6 teams hosting it. There aren't. There's 3 countries hosting it, which, by the way, won't feel that unusual to our children and grandchildren, given that there's 3 countries hosting the next World Cup in 2026. And this way, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay get a little bubble. Because look, they're not going to get 2034 because it looks like that's heading Saudi. So, why make them wait another 8 years?
No, you can have the opening games, and we'll let you qualify for free.
I mean, to be honest, they have really, really, really become an organisation that is extremely easy to dislike. And I'd go as far as to say, actually, I'm hating what they're doing at the moment. They're doing their damnedest to dilute every facet of this competition, from the playing platform to the viewing platform. They are spreading their wings so wide and making it so difficult with travel and expense and all this to try and appease, not even getting to the fact that, the amount of teams and the amount of guff and garbage that are going to be allowed in. It's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. The players and the spectators, once again, are the ones that are left high and dry at the end. How come? Is there more travel going? Is there going to be more travel or less travel?
Wait, this is about travel. Yeah, look.
It is about travel.
6 teams. There are 6 teams. It's a 48-team World Cup, right? As you know, there's going to be 6 teams that are going to have to get on their chartered flight to South America with a 3-hour time difference. They're going to play their games. They're going to come back 1 week, and 1 week later, they'll play their second game. Does this kill the spectacle for the fans? And does it ruin the whole World Cup in perpetuity? Versus what? Paraguay, which, by the way, will never host a minute of World Cup action. And Uruguay, who, by the way, won 2 World Cups.
I don't care if Paraguay hosts World Cup action or not, to be quite frank.
Yeah, but they do.
Well, you've got supporters travelling. You've now got supporters travelling to South America and then having to travel back. Is that more travel or less travel, rather than going to one country, pitching a tent and being there for the spectacle?
One more game in a group stage in a 48-team
I'm not talking about games.
World Cup.
I'm talking about the supporters having to travel to South America
all right.
to watch a
Don't
game
get me
and
started
get on a flight
supporters.
and come back.
No, Craig. I'm going to go Craig Burley on you. Enough of this contempt for the supporters and crying, right? I've been to the last World Cups. Every World Cup, it gets worse and worse.
It's not about supporters.
In terms of supporters.
They went to Qatar.
No.
They went to Qatar. Whether we liked it or not, they were in Qatar. They had a World Cup, right? They didn't go to Qatar and then jet off somewhere else around the world.
Okay, except for the Saudis, right, who drove over. Vast majority of those supporters, people who go to these World Cup, they're not fans as you understand them, as we understand them, as maybe they were in past competitions. These people are people who have a lot of money. They're corporates. They buy the packages. Hey, look, I just dropped 20 grand to go out there to go and watch Morocco. Oh, great. Most people can't do that, okay? So the supporters that might need to travel from Spain to Argentina, I'm not so concerned about them. I care more actually about the supporters in Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay who get to see a World Cup game. And those guys ideally would be slightly more normal people. So let's not make this about fans. 99.9% fans, the World Cup is just a big TV show to them. If you want to talk about how this is all a big political thing and how it's going to screw up South American qualifying because three teams already qualify and whatever else leaves a bad taste, I'm with you on this. But please don't bring up the traveling supporters because that's a myth that doesn't exist. Those
all right,
people,
so when the World Cup was in Mexico in '86 and Scotland qualified and all those Scottish fans went down there, it was only ones with money that went, right? Is that what you're trying to tell me? It was only ones with money that went to South Africa. Is that what you're trying to tell me? You're trying to tell me there was no normal fans went. That's what you're trying to say.
I don't know how many people can take a month off work. How many ordinary working class Joes can take a month off work?
People plan ahead.
I'll go. What kind of job gives you a month off work? Not many. Unless
some fans go for a couple of weeks.
Well, because it's Scotland and you figure 3 games they'll be out. No, come on now. I think that. But Craig, what I'm telling you is when they went to Mexico in 1986, which was a long, long time ago, right? Back then, you could get into a World Cup game for a reasonable amount. You could find reasonable hotels at reasonable prices in Mexico. That ship has sailed. It's a giant corporate orgy now where the only way you can to do it on the cheap if you're traveling is, frankly, virtually impossible unless you're going to couch surf for a month. That type of World Cup is over. I don't like it any more than you do, but that's done now. And so it makes no difference whether it's Argentina. It makes no difference to the fans, frankly, the fans who are going to travel, because very few are going to be cut out as a result.
I'm sorry, I disagree strongly that fans are not going to be cut out because of this nonsense of discombobulated World Cups with all these countries involved and all the travel. There is still an appetite, and sometimes for a lot of fans, it's a once in a lifetime. You know, what we understand is for a lot of these supporters, the bread and butter, this is like a dream bucket list holiday to go and watch your country in a World Cup. You might only do it once. Your country might qualify for every World Cup, but you might only do it once with your son or your daughter or your mum and your dad, right? And they're making it, and I'm not having it, they're making it more difficult and more difficult and more difficult for people to go and see these things. That is factual. It's not fiction. That is factual.
Go on, Nedum.
No. Listen, I was just taking that in. I think some very interesting points being brought forward. I think what Gab's saying is interesting as well. And I fall in line with, the type of fan that will just watch it on TV. And for as crazy as it is to have it across the 6 countries, I think what Gab's saying about the fans of Uruguay and so on, getting a chance to watch their team play before heading elsewhere, yes, it might price out a lot of people as such, but I think those people in the countries are going to be happy to see their team have a game. And I'll be honest as well, I've already booked my slot to watch that game in 7 years' time. I'll be watching it on TV, happy as Larry. And I'm sorry to say that's the reality of the situation. I am one of them, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but I'm like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, but people are not like me, and like most of us, right? Who I haven't got a great appetite to go, and because I'm not a fan. It's not my job to be a fan. But there are people out there who are the lifeblood of this game, and they're not all multimillionaires. And I agree with Gab to an extent that they are pricing more and more, or it seems like it, out of the market. But there is still a huge appetite for these people to go, a lot of them with families or mates or whatever, to experience this. And I think it's undeniable that they're making it more difficult, not less difficult, to be able to do this as a lifetime experience.
Shaka, last word on this to you.
I don't get splitting it between the two confederations as they are. I have no problem with the 3 European nations, or Europe and Africa, including Morocco, just as we have 3 countries here in CONCACAF hosting in 2026. I accept the reasons that they give for wanting to host in Uruguay, Argentina, and is it Paraguay? But I just feel that they're trying to appease too many people. And to Gab's point, yeah, well then, when next the World Cup is in South America, there could be a bid between those same three countries, Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay, to co-host between the three of them. Okay, it might be in 2034, but that's just kind of how it is. The World Cup is once every 4 years. There's 6 confederations. So if we just randomly say we're going to rotate between the confederations, it's not going to be back for another 24 years. And that you have to accept that. That doesn't take away from the experience or the right of one set of fans or another to see a World Cup sooner or later than that 24-year period. For me, I just feel it's FIFA trying to be all things to everyone when they can't, they never have been, and I don't think that's their role.
1 month holiday. Speaking of that, Gab, are you actually going to do the Gab and Jules podcast tomorrow?
I took 1 day off because my mom turned 80. I will be back with Jules tomorrow. I'll be consoling Jules. I'll be offering some therapy to Jules. Sorry, Dan, I think family's important. And Jules
Didn't you go
is
and
my
chase
family,
penguins
so...
for 6 weeks in Antarctica?
Well, yes, but
Well, there we go.
But that was last year.
Just a reminder then, the latest edition of the Gab and Jules podcast.
He won't take his kids to a World Cup, but
He'll take them. Here's some penguin poo. Great. There you go. Be sure to check it out.